Human Weaponry. A story by user TunnelRat. We had been passively watching them for some time. They called themselves humanity. We knew they were on the verge of discovering faster-than-light travel, so we waited for them. We had hoped to open trade and such between them and the Federation. Even though our space travel technology was significantly more advanced, there was still much they had discovered we were interested in, especially their advances in genetic engineering. However, that is not what I am examining. I am the Second Fleet Small Arms Specialist for the Galactic Federation. I am to meet with the Human Ordnance Specialist. An American. Right, they're still fractured into multiple countries. Curious. I am to meet with him and learn about American small arms, and compare our relative equivalents. The human cruiser is due to dock with our station within the next cycle. Strangely, they developed military ships so soon after discovering FTL. I have to download the visitor's language onto my translator. English, it is called. I watched as the human ship grew closer to our station. It was long, dark gray, black, and angular. Strange, the ship had a front and back. Not unheard of, but rare. As it grew closer, I could see why. It appeared that the front of the ship was a large cannon. I'd have to ask the one I'm meeting about it. I could also see multiple point defense turrets, at least I think that's what they were. They looked nothing like the pulse laser turrets used on my species' ships. As it began docking, I could see the English writing on the side. It said, USS Indianapolis. I was to enter the human ship and to be escorted to the armory. I made my way toward the dock, and I saw one small problem. The average human was a bit shorter than me. I stood about 7 feet tall. I made my way towards the hangar connection, which was a relief. The door was designed for small craft, more than tall enough for me. There were many humans wearing what looked to be formal white military dress, some in more practical combat dress, carrying long, strangely shaped weapons, and what appeared to be a smaller weapon in a case on their waist. They were vastly different from me. 4 limbs, they were bipedal and had long manipulators on the end of each of their arms. They had 2 forward-facing eyes, indicating a predator species, but unlike most, they didn't seem to have any natural weaponry. I was in formal military attire, but mine was gray rather than white. Compared to them, I have 2 more eyes. I also have 2 main arms, but I have 4 additional smaller arms down my abdomen. I moved towards the 2 humans that would take me to the armory. One would be giving me the demonstration. When I got near, the 2 individuals straightened their bodies and raised one of their arms to their heads, and extended their manipulators straight. This wasn't a surprise, however. I had been told this was a standard American military greeting. It showed respect. One addressed me. Welcome to the USS Indianapolis CA-35. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Sergeant Garrick, and this is my technician, Mr. Thomas. I apologize, but I cannot pronounce the name they gave me for you. How would you like to be addressed? Not a problem. Appreciation for the concern. Translated to the English alphabet, my name is heard as Ozis. My rank is Second Fleet Small Arms Specialist. Very good. Oh, and I'm required to ask, are you personally carrying any weapons on board the ship? No. Why would I carry a weapon onto an allied ship? Every human with a military rank you will meet today, which is the majority of them, will have a sidearm holstered on their hip. Why would you feel the need to be armed at all times? Call it insurance. We don't necessarily need to get to weapons to repel boarders. We also don't have any claws or natural armor like you. It made sense. It was just a different doctrine. It was still a bit perplexing. With that many armed individuals, accidents are bound to happen. Very well. I look forward to learning about your weaponry. Right. This way's... Sir, ma'am? My species is not sexually dimorphic like yours. Just call me Oziz. Apologies, Oziz. We're still getting used to this whole interacting with alien species thing. I followed the 2 men through the hangar, where I saw several smaller military craft. Most of the passing humans looked at me, if only for a moment. We made our way through 2 doors, then one that took 2 men putting their eyes in front of a scanner to open. Inside was a large internal hangar, filled with industrial-looking equipment, wall mounts filled with small arms, small and larger vehicles, as well as what looked like a testing range. Sergeant Garrick turned to me. Thomas here can fill you in on any technical questions you might have. Where would you like to start? I glanced curiously at the fearsome-looking vehicles. A strange form of propulsion. It looked as if they moved on large metal belts on either side of the main bulk, which had what looked to be a large cannon, as well as many smaller ones. Those could wait, though. We have time. On average, your soldiers carry 2 weapons, correct? A primary and a secondary? That is correct. Standard American military infantry are issued with an MA-27 rifle, as well as a SIG M23 for a sidearm. There are other weapons used in more specialized roles, but these are the basics. He showed me to a table, which looked to feature everything an American soldier carried. It included several armor plates, including a helmet, the rifle, sidearm, and several rectangular-shaped objects that I did not know the use for. There were also 2 ball-shaped items and an extremely sharp-looking metal stabbing weapon with 1 serrated edge. At the most basic level, how do these weapons function? The one called Thomas addressed me. Human weaponry fires metal projectiles called bullets. They can vary in size and purpose, but the basic ones look like this. He held up a small metal tube with a point. The point was a different color than the base, a light red compared to the golden tint of the base. This red section here is what is launched at the target. The base is filled with a combustible substance known as gunpowder. The piece on the back is called a primer. When inside a firearm, the trigger pull causes a small hammer to strike the back piece of the bullet, igniting a small explosive inside called a primer. The small explosive causes the gunpowder to explode, launching the small projectile at very high speeds. The longer he explained, the more confused I was. They are using kinetic weapons? Kinetics were obsolete hundreds of years before my species became spacefaring. Not only that, but to have a small explosion that close to yourself? That had to be dangerous. You use kinetic weapons? How can you use kinetic weapons? They must not be effective at penetrating even my natural armor. On the contrary, these bullets are fired at well over supersonic speeds. They have no problem penetrating. That could not possibly be true. Have you managed to create weapons that can throw a projectile faster than the speed of sound? Do they stay controlled? The explosive inside doesn't harm the user? I tried to keep my composure. We switched to plasma weaponry so long ago because of how slow kinetics are. Yet somehow these humans have figured them out. This could be invaluable, as plasma's main downside is the lack of penetration capability. No, they're relatively harmless to the user. How do the smaller firearms work? Same concept, just a smaller bullet. Thomas picked up a smaller cartridge off the table. This is 9mm, armor piercing. He handed the small object to me. Such a little thing. There's no way it could do any significant damage. How do you load these bullets into the rifle? Thomas gestured to the rectangular objects on the table. These are magazines. Standard capacity holds 45 cartridges each. They are inserted into the bottom of the rifle, where they automatically feed into the chamber every time a round is discharged. When fired, the casing that holds the powder is discharged through the side of the gun. It just sounded so off. My only conclusion is that I must be biased, as what the human was saying made sense. It was just so different than anything I had experienced before. I wanted to keep my professionalism. I am beginning to understand. Will I get to see a demonstration? Of course. Thomas gestured towards the area full of what must be targets behind them. That's what the range is for. But we can test them all at once if you want to see the other items. I gestured to the 2 circular objects on the table. What are those? Thomas chuckled softly, then responded. Those are hand grenades, small explosives you throw. That is ridiculous. They must be very weak explosives so they don't hurt the thrower. How could they think that that was a good idea? There's no way they could throw that accurately, though they did seem to proportionally have quite a bit of upper body strength. The human called Thomas picked one up. This is the way it works. This pin on the side is removed. Once this happens, after the lever on the side is released, it will detonate on a timer. When it explodes, the staggered metal squares that make up the sides of the grenade are thrown in all directions, hopefully taking out enemies with shrapnel. What was this human talking about? Do they mean to imply that they kill enemies with dirty shrapnel bombs? Not only that, but they throw them? How could they possibly expect to be able to throw it far enough and accurate enough? Composure be damned, I had to know. How can you possibly expect these to be effective? The 2 humans looked a little puzzled by my question. It looked as if they were trying to figure out how to respond. Finally, Thomas looked at me. The average human in their prime could throw one of these roughly 25 meters per second, on our homeworld's gravity anyway. Ah, that made sense. Their homeworld must have very weak gravity if they could throw it that far and fast. We can test them here, though, as we've have the gravity generator production in preparation for your arrival. Knowing your homeworld's gravity, you would have been extremely uncomfortable in ours for an extended period of time. I feel like the longer this human talks, the more confused I am. The gravity on Earth was at least twice that of mine? No wonder human weapons are so strange. They were made to fight on a literal hell of a planet. I composed myself, they explained it, time to move on. I gestured to the large vehicles on the side of the room. What are those? This time, Sergeant Garrick smiled. Those are tanks. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you're new here, welcome aboard. Check out the description for the story and join the Discord if you like. Consider supporting the channel and the author as well. It's a dangerous world out there, but remember to be brave and look up to seek the stars.